Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of what used to be called From the Soapbox, which we are now calling With My Thoughts. Same format, just going to update it a little bit for the new year. And as always, this podcast and others in the Jazzy Groove Rainy Day Podcast family are brought to you by the power of 5. If you like what we do, consider supporting the channel. At the very least, hit the like button. Takes us further than we dare dream, and hopefully brings some joy to your day. And with that being said, we're going to go on to our first topic. And our first topic is, don't take it personally. And you shouldn't. And the reason why you shouldn't is because for the purposes of this discussion, this is going to be all about people who are trying to tell you something. And they're coming from a place of love and concern. They're not talking just to be talking. And they give you what they consider to be good advice. Now, whether it is good advice or not, or whether you follow it or not, is completely and totally up to you. And no one will fault you if you don't. You just have to deal with the consequences. It is what it is. And also, we're going to be looking at our friends who call themselves the Red Pill Avengers. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Red Pill Avengers and what they're doing and why they're doing it. And basically just lay it bare and let people understand this is why it is. This is the reason that we can come up with it. We present it to you, and then you do with that information as you wish. Again, it is what it is. We're not telling you what to do. We're not giving advice. We're not in the advice giving profession. That's not my business. That's not my concern. I'm just a reporter. I report the news. I'm not an opinionist. Because to give advice would be to air out your opinion of the situation. And I don't want to do that. Because for good or for ill, it may sway you. And I don't want to sway you. That's not my intent. That's not my job description. That's not my function. I'm only here to tell you what it is. Do I enjoy it? Hell yeah. Immensely. Two topics come up where I may be a little bit biased for or against the situation. Of course. But even when I'm biased, I really do try to to present the information as it is and let you decide. 1 second. Here we go. Here we go. Now, we're going to get into, like I said, we're going to get into a video a little bit later. But before we do that, I'm going to dish out to you and explain to you why you shouldn't take things personally. The first bullet point, people are people. What do I mean by that? Whether you believe in creation or evolution, whether you're either a creationist or evolutionist, people are imperfect. It is what it is. People are imperfect. They're going to say things and do things that are going to give out results and outcomes that aren't readily or knowledgeably actionable. In other words, they didn't know it was going to turn out the way it did. Hence the law of unintended consequences. And once again, my voice doesn't seem to be getting any better, so I do apologize for this. You might want to turn on your closed caption so that you can read along with it if you're missing certain things. We're working every day to try to get my voice back to where it was. But until then, sorry about that, but this is as good as it gets. Okay, and with that PSA now out the way, okay, once again, people are people. And you should always, 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 always err on the side of caution. Excuse me. Err on the side of caution. As Ronald Reagan used to say, trust but verify. In other words, okay, I believe you. Yo, check that last statement. Make sure it's all right. But don't even do that. Don't even trust but verify. Verify and then trust. Because if you trust someone, you verify it, and it doesn't come out to be truthful, you look like an idiot. And you don't want to look like an idiot. So then don't trust it. Acknowledge it. I hear you. Yeah, check into that, please. Let me know what comes up. Okay. Now, we move to the next point. And it's an old saying. And the saying goes like this. People who are hated are the people that are successful. That's an uncomfortable truth. Shout out to that podcast. If you are hated on, more times than not, you're successful. And you know you are successful when haters start coming around. Because it simply means your viewpoints, your worldview, everything about yourself is being introduced to a broader audience. And you're going to have people, for whatever reason, that don't align with it. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong in that. We're all not going to agree. And the one thing that we agree on is the fact that we won't always agree. Sort of like death and taxes. It is what it is. And as you grow and become more popular, air quotes on that, popular, you're going to be introduced to more and more people, and some of those people will be haters. And they may hate because they're jealous of you. They may hate because they think they can do it better than you, which is jealousy. They may hate you because They think your viewpoint's wrong. Therefore, you must be wrong. Doesn't matter why. The thing that does matter is the simple fact that they will hate you. And to that I say, hate me all you want. You're simply going to bring more views to me. So please, by all means, hate me. But hate me over there. If you hate me here, we're going to have a problem. And I am at the stage in my life, I don't need problems. I don't want problems. I want solutions. I want answers. I want resolution. So, if you want to hate me, again, fine, hate me. Just don't hate me over on this side of the fence. Because then we will have a problem. And trust me, you don't want to have a problem with me. You just don't. The next point that I want to talk about is my thoughts on the haters. And it's simple. I'm not concerned with them. I don't think about them. You want to hate me? You hate me on the other side? Have at it. I'm not going to be concerned. I am not going to be worried about it. I'm not going to worry about you because you obviously don't worry about me. And I'm into reciprocating energy. I give as good as I get. You come at me with kindness, I got nothing but love for you. Come at me with anger and disdain, it's coming right back at you. And a lot of people don't understand how somebody who purports to want to help like I do, that could actually have that sort of viewpoint. And it's simple. You can watch any Manosphere podcast that you want. You can watch me. You can watch Brian or whatever. You watch Fresh and Fit. You can watch John Donovan Sharp. You can watch Pearl Davis. You can watch MLD. You can watch anybody in the space. And as you watch them, you will notice that different hosts have different responses to energy. I'm more of the lines, I'm between Donovan and Fresh and Fit. Myron from Fresh and Fit, shout out to you, Myron. But Myron basically gives as good as he gets. And is not afraid to kick you out if you deserve it. On the other side of the spectrum, you got Brian and whatever. Good show. Nothing against him. Good guy. My only concern with him is that he lets his panel skate longer than he should. And he has his reasons, and I'm not here to debate them. I don't care about them. They work for him. So he does it, so more power to you. I'm not worried about it. I'm not concerned. I just wish that he was a bit more assertive when it comes to dealing with his guests, which is why I have decided definitively not to have anybody on the podcast with me. I may be looking for a co-host in the near future. So if you know somebody who would be a good fit, if you know somebody would be a good fit, have them reach out to me, podcast at groovetunes.com, and that's groovetunes with a Z, and we'll see where it goes. But as far as having panelists and stuff like that, no, not happening. Because I see what it does to people. I've seen what it does to Pearl. I've seen what it does to Myron. I've seen what it's done to Donovan. I've seen what it's done to Anton Daniels. Shout out to you, Anton. I see what it's done to you. I don't want it, so I don't have to have it. It is what it is. Moving along, let's get over to the Red Pill Avengers, which will be Fresh and Fit, Michael Sartain, Donovan Sharp, John from MLD, and a gentleman who I don't think I know, but let's look into them, see what's going on, and get lost in the sauce. Here we go.
Invite, just want to show support, and I'd like to apologize in advance for Clary being here.
Listen, we forgive you. We forgive you. Seamlessly segues to our next panelist is Aaron Clary. What's going on, Clary?
I'm getting ESG social credit score points for.
You guys got the names? I heard it and I didn't catch it, and something Clary, I don't know. But let's listen in.
Hanging out with Modern Life John because he's a special needs person who definitely has special needs. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to show support. We love you, John. You're doing very well.
Very, very good. Next up is the man in Las Vegas. He is the host of the Access Vegas podcast. He is the great Michael Sartain. How you doing, man?
Hey, welcome, man. I'm really glad to have you guys, or to see you guys on Valentine's Day. I can't think of anyone else I would rather spend Valentine's with than you guys, and I get to show off my new studio, so that was a pretty cool thing, and I get to see you guys all over the world.
Looking good. And you and I, we actually have the same body type. Like, my chest looks just like yours, only upside down. So I've got a little bit of envy there. And last, of course, and certainly not least, the one half of the world famous #1 men's podcast in the world. It is Fresh Prince CEO. What's going on, man?
We're here, man. It is Friday. It's V-Day, but in case it's G-Day for us anyway. Myron's going to be here as well, like an hour later, but let's get into it.
All right, very good. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it all the way back to the beginning. What we're going to do is I'm going to go around the panel. I'm going to ask each and every one of you guys how you found this community, the Red Pill community, the Manosphere. Who inspired you? Who were the first content creators you watched? How did you get into the space? Let's start off with MLD. Tell us sort of your origin story in terms of how you found yourself here in the sphere.
Well, I had been I don't have like the traditional Red Pill story where like, I was a virgin until I was like 25 and then I read The Rational Male and my whole life was changed. I kind of grew up, around women all the time and just was never really afraid to talk to them. And I think that's the largest battle most guys have is they're just afraid to talk to girls. And I think once you get to talk to women, you talk to enough women, you start to notice a pattern. And I used to browse the Red Pill subreddit in 2009, 10, and 11 on before it got psyoped and then they deleted it. I was looking for people to link up with and just reading reports, reading field reports. Back in the day, there was a lot more guys taking action and a lot less theory on there. And then, I actually I had a mentor, which I think is the backbone of all success. Like, you need a mentor. And I was mentored by a small YouTube channel guy named Player Supreme. And he's really old school. He passed away now, rest in peace. But,
Oh shit!
yeah, he taught me a lot back in the day.
Wow.
And he's a great guy. And then, the forums lead you to Twitter. And then, I think, you start following people like Roosh because he was the big name then. I never really leaned into the whole PUA stuff. I just thought the way those guys were dressing was pretty goofy, like the big hat. I just thought, like, why would somebody wear a big goofy hat with goggles on it? I was like, that's just kind of not how the real world works. And I kind of started seeing, there was a big divide happening between, like, flashy advice that looked good for clicks, views, and television and real advice that actually got like women to follow you and serve you and want to be by your side. Not you didn't have to trick women to be with you. You didn't have to like be a dancing little monkey. You became a quality man and they wanted to be around you. And then I think like really it was 2013, 2014, 2015. That's kind of when we had the Mike Cernovich Danger Play, the Bold and Determined, Victor Pride, that
Yes.
kind of blogging era of masculinity. That was good. That's when you started making your
That's right.
your waves
Wrote the
too,
articles.
Don.
Yes, sir.
And then I just was on I was on Twitter heavily, and then Rolo just started following me. I started following him, and then I remember that one guy he used to call himself Christian McQueen. He bailed out on a Red
Christian McQueen, I remember.
episode. And then Rolo hit me up on Twitter. He's like, "Hey man, you want to come on the show?" And then you brought me on, and then that was from there. It was history, man. That we had that big resurgence in 20. I think it started in 2018. And I was always telling you guys back in 2018, 2019. I said, dude, because I had left America. See, I left America because I saw the writing on the wall of how America was going to be where it is now. I left in 2012. And I knew that we're going to reach a critical mass, and I knew that Red Pill was eventually going to hit the mainstream, and people were going to be publicly aware. Because girls in America, like, I'm sorry, like, they're just like on a global level. American women are at the very bottom. Like, talk about body weight, you talk about desirability, you talk about divorce rate. I mean, you talk about everything. Nobody's lining up to like, oh man, I dream of being with an American girl, unless it's like some Indian. Trying to come to America and he thinks all girls are blonde and blue eyes. Guys are thinking like, man, I want a Brazilian girl. Man, I want a Japanese girl. Man, I want to be with a Filipino. Man, I want to be with like a hot European girl, like a Ukrainian, a Russian. No one's really lusting after American women. So I saw the writing on the wall and I saw what was going to happen. And I just sat down and I started live streaming consistently in 2019 with one purpose and one purpose only. Getting as many guys to come and sit down and actually do the work and do the things necessary to transform their life.
Okay. We're going to break that down a little bit. Shout out to you, MLD. I hear what you're saying. And I understand why you left. I understand why you're doing what you're doing. That being said, I left America for about 8-9 years. And I've come back. And the reasoning is a story for another day. And that's definitely something that we will be getting into. Because it's worth getting into. So we'll put a pin in that one. We'll come back to it. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Let's get back into it.
Because anybody who's anybody and who's worth their salt will tell you there's no way you're going to make massive transformation on your own. I don't think anybody in this panel has gone without mentorship. I don't think anybody here would speak against mentorship either, because that's the only way you're going to learn. You know, if you want to learn something in college, you've got to go learn from somebody who's already done it. You want to go learn boxing, you're not going to read a boxing textbook in your garage and become a world champion, right? So I just really focused on training guys and getting guys moving forward, and then that's when I met Myron before the Freshman Fit even started. You know, I kind of gave him an idea of what he could do with himself and his brand, and I taught him the power of digital marketing. And Myron has an incredible work ethic, and here we are.
Yes, he does. Clary, tell us the Aaron Clary superhero origin story, because you're...
Aaron Clary's his name. That's it. Aaron Clary. That's it.
You are, and it's interesting because when I first got to know you, I was not aware that you were red pilled. I remember asking, "Well, you're not red pilled," and you were like, "Yeah, I'm definitely red pilled." But you come from the minimalist, financial shrewdness side of living the red pill life, sort of taking control of things. How did you get started in this space?
It was blogging. Way back in the day, I started my blog in 2004 from a financial, economic, political perspective. And there was plenty of stuff to talk about in those fields, but it was also red pill in a way that you've been being lied to about many other things outside of women and dating, which is economics, politics, and all that. And then invariably the two worlds would meet, because if you think about it, men spend a tremendous amount of their time, money, and resources on the pursuit of women. Matter of fact, it's most of their time, money, and resources, especially if you're younger. And it was inevitable that you'd have to talk about your time budget and personal finances and personal choices you'd make, not just in terms of cars or houses or interest rates, but hey, what are you doing with women, especially with the financial risk of divorce? And so that evolved, and then as you know, I made the jump from blogging to podcasting. Then we did podcasting to YouTube in 2014 because I had enough books out by that time. People were sending me questions. I created Asshole Consulting as kind of a joke to get people say, look, I can't answer all your questions, so I gotta have to charge you, thinking no one would pay me to answer and here we are where most people did, and that took a life on its own. And that's kind of the evolution of how I got onto YouTube. That's my main performance on YouTube, is answering those people's kind of Dear Abby questions, except from red pill community lens, which includes finance now as well as dating and all that other stuff. And so yeah, fast forward 21 years later.
Wow.
And here we are. Yeah. And so that's kind of my origin story.
Okay, now Michael, you are now, as far as I know, you're relatively new in this space. I think that Access Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, you've done it for a year and a half, 2 years. Maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm not.
Yeah.
And of course, you partner up with Rollo. How did you find your way into this space that eventually, was the genesis of Access Vegas?
So I retired from the military in 2011, and then I moved to Las Vegas, and I started throwing these just outrageous events. I either started throwing the events, or and Rollo can talk to you about them. I mean, Fresh has been to them before, and these events were like 3 or 4 girls to every guy, and I would do this over and over again. And then I would occasionally, because I was friends with Owen Cook, and I'm friends with Mystery. Occasionally I would get asked to go speak on certain panels and say, okay, what is it that you're doing that's different? Because the girls that you're with always seem to be like really, really attractive, and you seem to have a lot of women with you. But I didn't want to teach this. I wanted to stay out of this professionally. I was still working at a fund as a quantitative analyst. And then later on, I think there were kind of a couple inflection points. First was I started the podcast in July of 2021. And I had a bunch of friends. I had a bunch of friends who wanted to come on, and so I started doing a podcast. And I will tell you, it's probably 2015, Tyler. Ty Lopez introduced me to Dr. David Buss from the University of Texas at Austin, who's the world's foremost evolutionary psychologist. So I started to get really heavy into evolutionary psychology, read every book I could, by Robert Trivers and Jeffrey Wilson and every single, content creator that I could find, or every single PhD I could find on the subject. And then I started my own company, Men of Action, probably December 2019. It didn't really take off until the next year, but we had a lot of demand because I had been speaking for several years before that. And then what I wanted to do was take all these like outrageous experiences I would have at the Playboy Mansion or on at the Maxim parties, and I was trying to share with men how I got to this place, and then try to use a scientific backing behind it. And so my 10th episode, I had Bulgarian on, and then later on I had Dr. Buss on, and then later on I had Rollo on. And the reason why I had Rollo on was I did a bikini so I host the 3 biggest bikini competitions in the world. One at Wet Republic for $100,000, the one for Paradise Challenge Black Tape Project, and then I host Swimsuit USA every November. The one I did for Wet Republic, I had one time where I had like 70 girls at the show, and I have this video where I'm walking down the staircase and the girls are just following me, and I can't remember what the music was or whatever. Anyway, Andrew Tate, his people reached out to me after he saw the video, liked the video, started following me. He reached out to me on Instagram, and then me and Andrew started talking back and forth, and we were talking about doing a podcast together. Andrew said he was going to come to the States back then, and it was funny because he still had a lot of heat on him, and I was talking to some of the nightlife directors for MGM and some other plaplaces because I figured if Andrew was going to come back to the States, he was going to have to keep it under wraps. So I was planning. I was like, hey, bro, if you come here, G14 classification, I'll take care of it. Make sure nobody harasses you or whatever. He says, I can't come to the States, but you need to. Could you talk to my buddy, Justin Waller? He's like one of my close friends, whatever. Justin comes down, does my podcast. We immediately become like super good friends. Me and Justin, we talk on a regular basis. He gets me. I'm from Texas. He's from Louisiana. We just have a very, there's almost nothing Justin and I disagree with when it comes to like Red Pill stuff. And then Justin then goes the next week to see Rollo in Reno, does a show with him. Rollo then sees my stuff, and then he goes, hey, man, do you want to do a podcast? He comes, and because I'd read all of Rollo's books, I do a 4-hour podcast with Rollo, and he'll tell you even to this day, I have the most intricate podcast with Bulgarian, with Adam Sosnick, with Rollo Tomasi, like certain guys I do. I'll say Aaron Clary too. When I interviewed Aaron, I go through all of their books before I do the interview. So Rollo was really impressed. He goes, hey, do you want to do a show here in Vegas? We'll do Access Vegas. And I was like, well, I know thousands of girls, bikini models. I know girls with PhDs. I know girls who are doctors. I know girls who are porn stars, whatever. I was like, yeah, for sure. So I would book the girls, and then we do the show. Then Rollo comes to my birthday party, and then that's when he actually sees the fucking chaos. Like when it was me, no guys, and 50 girls showed up to my birthday party, and I showed him how I did it. And then that's where like sort of the confluence of theory and practice came together. He had really good theory. His way of explaining hypergamy and like concepts in Red Pill were better than anything I'd ever done before. He was like, here's the way I like to explain what the rational male is. People try to criticize stuff that was written in that book that comes from essays that were almost 20 years ago. That's not the point. The rational male is a piece of dynamite. Sometimes to move a boulder, you need a shovel, and sometimes you need dynamite. The rational male is just dynamite. It's an explosion to get you to move, to actually see some truths that you didn't see before. It wasn't that I read the rational male and I was like, oh, I didn't know this. I knew this. I used to manage a strip club back in 2000. I'm very aware of how women's hypergamous actions work. I'd never seen anyone describe it. Same thing, you've ever read Jocko Willink? Jocko Willink describes military leadership better than anyone I've ever seen. And the way that Rollo describes the dynamics between men and women is better than anyone I'd ever seen. So I teamed up with him, and he would kind of do the theory stuff, and I would do the practice stuff. And then that's how we started our show. And we've been doing it for a while. Men of Action, we just crossed 3,500 members to join the company Men of Action. And then I do partner with Rollo for his Reignite brand, and then I also partner with Bulgarian for his Sigma Society brand. As one of the coaches there. So that's pretty much where I've been, since then. And I try to, for this space, and I think Aaron does the same thing. I try to, if you have discussions about these topics with coworkers, family members, blue-pilled alphas, or women who absolutely no idea what they're talking about, and you want data in order to win the debate, check my show out. My show is about providing you with data, actual hard science, data, evolutionary psychology studies to show, like, for instance, promiscuity is not good for men or women. It causes both men and women to have lower marital satisfaction. but the variance in women is 2 to 1 versus men.
Absolutely.
Meaning women show even more marital dissatisfaction the higher their body count is. That's something why I have a friend of mine, he's a Hollywood director. He shows this to his assistant who's like super woke, and she's like, no, that's misogynistic. No, it's a fact that's backed up by data and science. So what I try to do with my podcast and Access Vegas is give guys in this space data and science. Hard.
Okay. Looking back on the misogyny episode, which is a couple of podcasts ago, you can go over there after you watch this one and give that a listen if you want. But you notice that when the guy was saying what he was saying to the his assistant, and she didn't like it, it's misogynistic. No, and it's not. But it is to her because it's not what she wanted to hear. It's not what she wants to hear. And that's what we have to say about that. Because just because you never heard of something before doesn't mean it's not right. Especially if you can back it up with real world data. Real world statistics. And if you want to embellish it, then you can throw in anecdotal evidence. But it doesn't make it wrong. And that's something that a lot of women get hung up on. Because women, for the most part, don't like to be wrong. They just don't. I don't know why. I just know that a great deal of them will never, they could be dead wrong and know they're wrong and still never admit to it. Not out loud. Not where you will actually hear it and be able to acknowledge it. Maybe even bask in it. Okay, she was wrong and she knows it and she said so. I feel a little bit better about myself. Let's listen to a little bit more of this.
Hard facts in order to have these discussions so that people, because again, if something is true, it is not racist. If something is true, it is not bigoted. If something is true, it is not misogynistic. It is only true. And so that's what I've been trying to do with my channel. So it's a little bit less bombastic, but it's more data driven because I'm a quant and I study physics in college. I like to have basically, if you want the research in order to win the debate, then that's what I try to turn my channel into. And also, we have tons of girls on the show also.
Super impressive. But before I get to Fresh, this what you just said about Rollo Tomasi, the way you described it, like it's not that he was teaching us anything we didn't already know. Mm-hmm. We as men and women, we intrinsically understand things because it's in our very firmware. Rollo just explained it to us. It's almost like, yes, I knew this to be true. And I think that's why the Rational Male, for a lot of reasons, is the dynamite. Fresh, you are one half of the Fresh and Fit podcast, man. Obviously, one of the most famous people in the world. How did you get started in this space?
Real quick, I got to say, man, Donovan, you're a good moderator, man. Don't let me tell you otherwise.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, this started 2021. 2017. I just left Barbados, coming to America, and I want to be successful. I didn't know how. I just knew, hey, opportunities here in America, come over here, figure it out. So what happened was I started applying for jobs, finally got a job, worked 2 jobs, Chick-fil-A and AT&T. And then, funny enough, I started saving money, investing money as well into myself. Then I looked at real estate, how to invest as well, how to further my career. And then I started living like a good lifestyle. I have money saved up, I go out with friends, enjoy. I started to see how the culture in America was. Because in Barbados, obviously, it's a lot of tourists. You're going to the beach, you have fun. It's not that hard to talk to girls that, in that environment. But here, it's if you're a regular dude, it's not that easy because you got to either have game, charisma, money, or status. One of these elements, or all of them, or all the above. In any case, I was living my lifestyle, and then I started getting better life, having more money, having more status. And then I met Solo TV 84. He saw my Instagram page, saw what's going on. He said, "Bro, let's do a podcast." I'm like, "Podcast? Like, I'm not the best speaker, bro. You know, I'm pretty much just living the lifestyle. But fuck it, let's do it." So we did the podcast, and before we did the podcast, though, just to back up on my story. I was trying to learn the culture here in America, and I was more of from a religious background, so I married a single mom, you know, and that taught me so much about women, marriage, and like single mothers, right? And obviously, you guys say obviously it's an L, but I understood one thing from that experience is that if I was gonna win at life and be successful, I can't make mistakes like that anymore. So I felt alone. I felt like kind of like trapped, and I was like, hold on, what do I do here? So I'm looking online. Okay, dating single mothers, is it bad? Is it good? I find Solo TV 4. I find Rollo Tomasi, King Riches, and some other creators as well. Long story short, though, I was like, yo, this is crazy. I've been doing the wrong things here, especially marrying a single mom, and this isn't working well for me. I gotta exit right now. So that night, I went home. I said, hey, listen, this was what's going on. I gotta end this. And like in 2 weeks, I was finished with that. But after looking into the red pill and all this dating stuff, I saw, okay, cool. If I can avoid certain mistakes or kind of like maneuver a certain way, I can benefit or move further ahead in life and be successful. So at that point, I was full into red pill, looking at stuff. Obviously, I didn't have the rage per se, but I was more like, okay, you know what? I see where I messed up. Awesome. Then Solo hit me up on Instagram. After a while, we did that podcast. He said, listen, bro, there's a guy in Miami that does fitness videos. You should link with him. I'm like, fitness videos? I'm trying to make some money, bro. Not fitness videos. Anyhow, so then Myron DMs me on Instagram. We speak for like an hour on the video call. And then before you know, he said, let's have dinner, bro. So it was me, my roommate, Casey, and Myron. Went to Top 42 Midtown.
Casey, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm just a chill guy, bro. We just had dinner. Me and Myron talked. Like, let's do our own podcast. And we spoke about our first show, cold approach, and then online dating. Because obviously, I'm an Instagram wizard. I've got an Instagram for business and for dating. And I turned my whole life around just from using Instagram the right way. And at that point, we did one show a week, pretty much like our separate properties. I did it in my bedroom. He did it in his living room. And people liked it. You know, we talked about dating, our struggles as men in Miami. And pretty much, people were like, you know what, you should do more. So we did 2 a week, 3 a week. And eventually we got a studio, and the rest is history. But at that point, the turning point for me was when I married a single mother. I felt like, dude, I made a big mistake in my life, and I don't know what to do here. But looking online, for you guys' videos, just my entire life. So I gotta say to the RP, thank you, man, because it changed me as a man, made me a better person. So good stuff.
We got a couple of new panelists who just jumped in.
All right, then. Also, they were joined by the Angry Man and Rollo Tomasi. And together, those are their Red Pill Adventures. And a lot of them talk about their struggles, their triumphs, their setbacks in the dating market. Now they became red pill aware. Full disclosure, I am not red pill. I'm red pill adjacent. Because there are things that they say that I agree with, and there are things that they say that I disagree with. And I have my reasons for them. You can go through my catalog of videos. I've got almost 250 of them at this point. To explain why I feel the way I feel. Why I think the way I think. And why I do the things I do. And if you want a good foundation to make any decision that you may want to make off of, it's a very good place to start. Just be sure hit the like button on the videos, at the very least. If you want to show your support another way, you can donate. The links are in the description. You can do paid chats. They're coming. But as of right now, your best thing is to do a donation. They will be appreciated and they will be shouted out on air on a later episode. And I played that video, or a portion of that video, so that you all will become aware of something that I don't think a lot of people, either they don't know it, they don't understand it, or they don't acknowledge it. And that's simply this. Each one of those 8 men, while they agree on a great many things, they tend not to take things personal. When you're in the public eye, you can't. Because if you do, you never want to get out of your house. You never want to go outside. You never want to go back on the air. You just crawl into a hole and die, basically. Because your feelings, your sensibilities can and will be upset. It takes a very strong-willed person to hear people talk the way they talk. Understand what they're meaning, and yet go your own way anyway. I can do that. The gentleman on the panel can do that. The creators that I've named, and many more that I have not. Shout out to all of you. They can. It's not a matter of getting your feelings hurt. It's not a matter of being upset. It's not a matter of vendettas or vindictiveness or get-backs or anything like that. This is how life is. This is how we got here. And for the best outcomes of a given situation, you might want to do this. You might want to do that. I'm not advising you. I'm simply showing you another path. And with that, we've come to the end of another one. If you made it this far in, thank you very much for allowing me into your home or your car or the job beside you, whatever it is that you're doing. As has been said in other podcasts, you could be anywhere in the world and you decided to come here with me. I thank you for it. Again, we operate in the power of 5. Like, comment, subscribe, notify, share. Those 5 things make us unbeatable. And in the next episode or 2, we're going to have a little competition. Details are forthcoming, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And with that, this is OBJ saying thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Be kind to one another. Do better. Until the next, peace be with you.